everybody. I'm Hillary Atkin from the Atkin Report. I am delighted to welcome director Martha Coolidge to this edition of Hillary's Happy Hour to talk about her new feature film, I'll Find You. Martha, how are you doing today?
I am really doing great.
Well, that is good to hear. And the film is set during World War II, a love story between two young musicians, Robert and Rachel, one Catholic, one Jewish, and they're torn apart by the Nazi invasion of Poland. It's a different milieu than any of your other films. So tell us more about it and what attracted you to the story.
Well, first of all, it may be a different milieu, but actually, young love is, I think, maybe one of the biggest subjects anybody can handle because that's so important when it happens. It's so meaningful and so big to us. And here it is right against this horrible war that's tearing apart Europe. And they learn so much, these characters, about who they are and how they're important to other people in this movie. And for me to be able to go to Europe where it was happening and have people coming out and talking to me and saying, I remember when it was just like this, and then remembering about the war, it was a very important subject to address because for an American having never lived through that situation, I got to hear endless stories about surviving the war, and that was really incredible.
Well, the title, of course, I'll Find You, refers to Robert's quest to find Rachel in a journey that takes him into Nazi Germany and later to New York City. Let's
Yes.
take a look at the trailer.
Rachel,
Robert, I can't wait to hear you sing.
I can't wait to sing for you. Love. Love is a luxury in times like these. No matter what happens, we'll always be together. This Catholic boy can offer you nothing. Hey, Hesna! This is my country. I couldn't live with myself if I just ran away.
You try and be a hero.
You sang. She played with love.
What were your favorite scenes, Martha, and how was it working with your cast, Leo Suter, Adelaide Clemens, Stephen Dorff, and Stellan Skarsgård?
Oh, well, what's great about the cast, and believe me, there are so many other great actors in this movie too, um, that it is that it's an adventure because they all work differently and they all love to act, but they do work differently. So you can't just apply one thing that it works with one actor to another actor. You have to really be sensitive to them and understand how they work. So it was a very, very adventurous time. And even to get together with an actor when I wasn't even sure if they spoke English at all, because that meant teaching them English as well as subtext and all the rest. Um, so it was an incredible adventure for me because I always talk about every actor is different and you have to try to figure out how you're going to work with each one of them. That's sort of the adventure of it.
What do you hope that audiences take away from I'll Find You, especially now that another war is
Oh,
going on in Eastern Europe?
well, I hope that it starts to make people remember what parts of their life are so important to them and other people, and that what becomes meaningful in a chaotic situation like war-torn Europe, is that love and the attraction from one family member to another, the importance of it, it becomes more important than many other things that you might think were important before. So so I think that the hope and wish of love is part of what people survive for. Whether or not their one love survives, there is the hope of more and of other people. And that to me is what all the people who are alive today have done. We go out in life and we make our lives.
Well, here's to that. But I want to shift gears for a moment. And you having been president of the DGA, talk about the challenges, especially below the line women in Hollywood, directors, writers, costume designers face, and what progress you've seen, hopefully, since the Me Too movement and the racial reckoning after George Floyd's murder. These past few years, I really hope to hear that you've felt and seen some progress.
Well, yes, and I do think there finally is progress. I think that when I first came in, all the questions were the same. My career has been the same. Everybody asks the same thing. Everybody asks every other woman director the same thing. But it doesn't seem or feel like much progress is being made. And now I do feel that you see a lot of women directing. It's intentional. A lot of ethnic minorities directing. That's really great. And we need all these people's points of view. What directors bring, which is their experience and their point of view, is what is unique about them and unique about each one of them. So it is important that we do that, and it is important that we recognize that about the stories they make. And I'm very, very excited that we have more people directing today that are different from everybody else than we used to.
Well, that is a hopeful note, and let's see even more. But I want to flash back to your film Valley Girl. That is the film that, of course, gave you such renown and also made a star of Nicolas Cage. So let's rewind. Let's hear about it, Martha.
Well, what happened is my friend Andy brought me out to dinner because we'd known each other for a couple of years. And he told me about this project that they'd written, which was about girls and ultimately was being financed. And they really wanted to get someone to direct it who was a woman because they felt a woman would understand the women better. So I went home that night with some dread and a lot of hope. And I was very amazed to read the script and see that it was a very lighthearted, funny, but important love story, like a Romeo and Juliet kind of love story, and I was excited about it. So I got together with them and said there were two scenes that we needed to really embrace and develop, which would be the falling in love scene and the breaking up scene. But that movie is a great example of a really good movie being based on a good idea that's basically simple. I mean, it has subtext, it has all kinds of things, but the conflict is clear, and the characters are very good. So that to me was a wonderful find. It just happened to me, and I was really happy to make the film.
Valley Girl.
She's out there somewhere.
This is the story of a boy from Hollywood who never dreamed the girl he'd want most was down here.
Hello.
Hello. Who invited you?
Oh, wow, you mean you have to be invited? Well, that explains it.
What?
Well, everyone is dressed weird. See, if I had been invited, I would have known this was a costume party.
Right.
It's the story of a girl from the valley who never dreamed she'd ever be seen with a boy from over here.
It's like I'm not getting out of this car.
All right, but when they attack the car, save the radio.
Well, tell me about the casting of Nicolas Cage, who was pretty unknown at that time.
Oh, totally unknown. When I went in, as soon as I went in, the casting of the movie slightly changed because I had been casting for a year or two with Fred Roos on a different project at Zoetrope, but at least the agencies sort of knew who I was. So we were getting a lot of the Rat Pack and all those people coming in, and that was great. And but I just didn't quite find Randy, and so I kept saying I I don't know how to describe what I'm looking for, but I'm not looking for a pretty boy. So I said, don't bring me any more pretty boys. Bring me a guy who looks like. And I walked over. This is true. Walked over to the reject pile, pulled up the top picture, held it up. It was Nicolas Cage.
Oh my gosh.
So she brought Nicolas Cage in the next day or the day after. He didn't talk much. He was very shy, but he was clearly a complex guy with a wonderful subtext and a great way of comporting himself. And so I wanted him back for a read through, and we did bring him in with Deborah and some other things. But it was an incredible discovery of somebody who then later told me, well, we met at Zoetrope, but I don't remember meeting him at Zoetrope. Must have been with a lot of people.
Well, let's go from one love story then to another one now. I want to wrap up our happy hour by lifting a glass to you and the success of I'll Find You, now in theaters.
Well, thank you. I'm holding my tea. Thank you. And the same to you and to everyone who sees this movie. Okay?
Cheers.
Thank you.